Now, moving on in our quest to answer these questions, what did Zoroastrianism believe at the time of the Babylonian captivity, and when the Jews were freed from Babylon, what did Zoroastrianism believe at that time? Well, we turn our attention to the Avestan texts, which is the religious literature of Zoroastrianism, and we look at the manuscript copies that we have in existence today. Now, those copies are dated historically to the 13th century of the Common Era. This is basically the medieval period. Now, in dating them linguistically and through other historical works, there's two Zoroastrian texts that we look at. One is the book of Arda Viraf, the other is the Dinkard, and then there is also a Roman historian, Pliny the Elder, who mentions a little bit about Zarathustra. In looking at the book of Arda Viraf, we date this book to the 3rd or 4th century of the Common Era. Linguistically, we date it. And it does mention the Avesta. Actually, it mentions Alexander, and they are referring to Alexander the Great, but they are referring to him as the evil Alexander because he burned some texts of the Avesta, and that would have been in the late 4th century BCE. Because the book of Arda Viraf mentions the Avestan texts, we consider it a testimony to the existence of those texts in the 4th century. And we really don't have a reason to not believe that. So most likely these texts of the Zoroastrianism religion did exist and were burned by Alexander in the late 4th century BCE. Now, in taking a quick note on the book of Arda Viraf, we really do not know the date of this book, but it is generally assumed to date to the time of the Sasanian Empire. And the reason we date it to the period of the Sasanian Empire is because of that chapter 1, verse 7, where it states that Alexander, or rather the evil Alexander, burned the Avestan text, and he was called a Roman, which we know from history he wasn't a Roman, he was a Greek. So what does this tell us? Well, we already know from history that during the time of the Sasanian Empire, they were intensely at odds with Rome. So that is our key in dating the book of Arda Viraf to this time period. And again, as I said, the oldest known manuscript copies of the book of Arda Viraf are contained in 2 codices dated to the 14th century of the Common Era and linguistically dated to the 3rd and 4th century CE.